welcome into another episode of the GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Neander. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. So week 8, here we are. Week 8 starts tonight with Thursday night football. And man, we're over halfway through the fantasy season already. It's crazy. It happens so fast. Just try to enjoy it while it's here. One of the few things we'll enjoy of 2020, right? So just still enjoying getting good football out there and trying to think about how fast it really does go by. So week 8, here we are, fantasy players. It's do or die right now, man. If you are 2-5 and I have one of those teams, you got to start getting a couple of wins here. You got to start collecting some wins, and you got to be, looking at, 7-6, as the goal. Most leagues you're going to have 6 teams making the playoffs, and 7-6 in a lot of years can just get you in there. So those 2-5 teams, folks, have faith. Those 1-6 teams have a little bit of faith. And if you're 0-7, sorry, just start cock blocking everybody else for the rest of the year. Do what you can. Don't collude. Don't do dumb things like dropping your good players. Don't do any of that shady shit, all right? We all got to try to play our teams the best we can. Get the wins when you can get them. Block whoever you can anytime you can. That's the name of the game. Have a little bit of integrity here with your fantasy team. Maybe next year we'll have a team called Tegrity, in honor of Tegrity Farms, if you got that joke. The South Park fans, which I am a huge one. So, all right, let's see. Before we get into the previews here, yesterday's episode I thought was a lot of fun. Check it out if you haven't already. You can do that anywhere. You can catch out our show anywhere. You can catch it on YouTube. So if you're watching the show, please subscribe to the channel, like and share the videos or the channel, either one, all of them, anywhere you can. If you listen to the show, make sure you share it. Like it, share it, subscribe, whatever you got to do to help us get it out there. Because I think if you're following the GOAT's advice so far, you're hitting smash plays a lot of the time. So get it out there to your friends, hopefully not your league mates, and keep that advantage over them. But you can stay with us all year long to get your start sit advice, your waiver wire advice, just basically all the advice you need to manage your fantasy team to a championship every year. So let's start that with this season here. We got some teams that are heading towards a championship. I got a couple of teams that are really strong right now and look to be heading really strong heading into this final run here. So keep with it, everybody. Don't give up the hope, and don't lose faith there. So let's go. All right. So Thursday night football, we have our Atlanta Falcons at 1-6. Traveling to Carolina, taking on the Panthers, 3-4. Carolina, listen, they're still fighting for their season. It's not over by a long shot. There's so much football left to play for these guys here, and they're playing good football. So, that extra team makes the playoffs this year, so you can bet Carolina's going to be giving it all they have. Now, we do already know that Christian McCaffrey is more than likely not to play. They haven't ruled him out, but the reports are that he's likely not to play at this point. So we're going to go forward with that being the assumption. We're going to start with the Falcons here. Now, even though they're 1-6, for fantasy purposes, they do tend to, provide what you need and give you your points. So, like Matt Ryan this week, I think he's going to be throwing the ball all over the place. They want to show that they should keep this nucleus together here, right? You've got, a lot of talent: Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. To keep that trio together, maybe you draft a young running back. You make some other moves in free agency. Maybe you give it another run, but this could be the last of the run for this group as well. But I would like to play Matt Ryan here. You're going to play Todd Gurley. He's scoring touchdowns at a really high rate, and they're giving him the high value work. So not as efficient as you like, but you got to play Todd Gurley, man. He's doing what he needs to this year. He's getting it done. On the outside, you're playing Julio. You're playing Calvin Ridley. Calvin, pretty sure, is still the number 1 wide receiver, which is crazy considering Tyler Lockett's recent game. But I think he's still number 1 just by a short margin. So you're going to have him in there. And I think for me, I'm probably going to skip Russell Gage this week. He is absolutely flexible. There's no doubt about that. But I just don't want to bet on it. There's so many other receivers out there right now that are producing, that are on your waiver wire, that aren't the number 3. They could be the number 2 on their team. And there's a bunch of those dudes out there. There's some of those dudes out there. So I'd look elsewhere this week. And then with Hayden Hurst, yeah, he's in my top, 10, 11 tight ends for the week. So for me, he's absolutely startable. I think there's no reason to think that he couldn't get into the end zone this week. So well, let's hope that happens at some point during the day. But the over/under here is 51.5. Carolina's giving 2.5. So Vegas has them both scoring at least 3 touchdowns here. And if I expect one to go to Gurley, I think you have a good chance for one to go to Hurst as well. All right. Let's move over to Carolina here. Now, you're going to play most of these guys as well here. Teddy Bridgewater comes back into streaming relevance. It's, essentially a, matchup, kind of a thing for Teddy Bridgewater. You got to kind of play the matchups for the streaming. And I do think you can play him this week. There's no reason to think that you can't. Atlanta has been giving up an absurd amount of yardage, through the air. I think they're giving up 333 yards a game through the air, which is second most in the league. So expect Bridgewater to have a good game. And yeah, Mike Davis, you're certainly going to be playing him in a good matchup where we're not expecting Christian McCaffrey to play. This is the best thing that could have happened for Mike Davis owners, is to get this one more week, to yourself, to hopefully have a big week. The last couple of weeks haven't been great, but you did get a couple of great weeks out of him already. If you get one more, whether or not you're the McCaffrey owner, you're going to be, feeling good about your Mike Davis investment at this point, right? And then on the outside, you're going to play both the receivers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Anderson's getting a little bit more volume, but Moore is catching the touchdowns and making the big plays. But both should be in your lineup here. That's going to end it for this game. I mean, Curtis Samuel, again, could be flexible and he could have a decent game. I'm just not going to bet on it. So I'm going to stay with the number 2 for both of the 1s and 2s on both these teams and let it go there for wide receivers. And we know Carolina, tight end has not been a thing for them this season. So let's move on from there. Should be a decent game tonight. Let's hope if you got your Falcons and your Panthers in, that you get the points that you need. Sunday. All right. Let's start in Buffalo. Let's start with my Bills here. This is a fun game for a lot of reasons. Some great storylines here. Now, Buffalo at 5-2. Hosting the New England Patriots that are 2-4. Patriots, been the division, leaders for however many decades with Tom Brady, and Buffalo, looking to finally to break through and to take back over the division. This could be the season, and this could be kind of the turning point game in that season. Buffalo moves to 6-2 if they win. New England moves to 2-5, both heading in opposite directions. So hopefully Buffalo at home can come up with a big performance here. Weather looks like, I don't know. I don't know if the weather looks good here. What are we showing? Why didn't that do what I thought it was going to do? I don't know, but it looks like it might rain. Not too cold, though, so no snow, but 50 degrees, possible chance of rain. I don't know. I think that helps Buffalo's game plan, quite honestly. So let's talk about fantasy options here. And for New England, well, all right. It's a 41.5 point over-under, by far the lowest on the week. Buffalo giving 3.5 points. So they're not even putting, New England scoring 20 points in this game. And for that matter, Buffalo, barely scoring, over 20 points, maybe 24 points, right? So when we look at that, you got to think, this is not the game where you're trying to mine a lot of fantasy gold here. So for New England, I'm probably not playing anybody, quite honestly. Damian Harris would be probably my number 1 pick for someone to play. I assume with how much Cam Newton is struggling, they need to, get back to basics and get something going. And for me, Damian Harris has been probably the brightest spot for New England. If I were them, I'd be trying to get this guy 15 plus carries and get something going. Buffalo, you have been able to run on Buffalo. They've been a solid defense, but not as locked down as we expected them to be. Certainly not in the run. You could run on Buffalo. So I think Damian Harris is playable, especially considering how many running backs we're down right now. I have him as our RB3. And depending on your lineup, that could certainly be someone that you're going to be starting, either as an RB2, or a flex play. But I'm hoping that I'm hoping and expecting Damian Harris to have around 15 touches in this game. Excuse me. So can't play anybody else. Cam Newton has looked, too bad to play. Too many other quarterbacks score points. Is it absolutely possible that he, runs the ball a lot and scores a couple of touchdowns? Sure. You could miss out on a good game from Cam here, but not the way I see it. I just see him struggling mightily right now and continuing to struggle on the road in Buffalo this week. Don't want to play James White. Don't want to play Rex Burkhead, Julian Edelman, Nikhil, nobody. I don't want to play anybody on this team. I think it's going to be a sloshy, ugly game, slow, where both teams are going to be running the ball and kicking field goals, kind of like the Buffalo game last week. So, move over to Buffalo, though. Even though I don't love the matchup, it is at home, and because I expect them to run a little bit more than they have been lately, I do want to play Josh Allen here. I just expect him to run more and try to get something going. They've had trouble getting the running game going, traditionally with the running backs, and kind of like the Patriots, the quarterback running game can be a catalyst to get it started here. So expect Josh Allen to run a little bit more in this game. Want to play Josh Allen. Going to stay away from both Buffalo running backs. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss will both be out of my lineups. Just don't want to, pick again. Hopefully, this is the week where maybe Zach Moss, shows something and starts to take over the lead back, because I liked Singletary heading into the season, but he's looked really bad. He just not making plays happen. I understand that, that they're really not sticking with it. He hasn't had the multitude of touches maybe that you need to get going. But, last year he was just making things happen, making guys miss, with regularity, and that doesn't seem to be happening this year. So staying away from both those guys for this week. And then I'm playing Stephon Diggs. Absolutely, the target share has just been, unavoidable. To keep him in your lineup. He's playing great this year. John Brown, whether or not they say he's playing, I know he got into practice yesterday. I'm going to hold off for a week with John Brown. I want to see him get integrated back into the offense. I think if anything, having John Brown back on the field healthy, helps Stephon Diggs a little bit more, right? By attracting a little bit more of that deep attention from the safeties. And Cole Beasley, yeah, he's been very playable. The targets have been there. If Stephon Diggs and John Brown have trouble getting open on the outside, which is always possible against the Patriots, you could see a number of targets funneled to Beasley over the middle. It's just, the ceiling is low here, right? So it's a pretty high floor, but rather low ceiling play to play Beasley. As long as you're playing him knowing that, you can do that. You can play him. Just got to know that, right? You're probably going to get more than 7 or 8, PPR points, 9 PPR points at least. But the odds of getting, 20 are slim to none, right? Happened last week, I get it. Usually doesn't happen. So, all right, let's keep going to some games where we're going to score some more points here, right? Tennessee Titans traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. 5-1 for the Titans, 1-5-1 for the Bengals. 53.5 point over/under here, with Tennessee giving 5.5 points. So listen, the implication here is that both teams are going to be scoring points. If this game were in Tennessee, I'd be more hesitant maybe to start some Bengals, but I think I'm going to have some Bengals out there this week. I guess the question is, with Ryan Tannehill, is he going to throw the ball enough this week to be worth it? Is it going to be a Derrick Henry week? I think there's room for both of them to eat a little bit in this game. Tannehill's outside my top 12 quarterbacks for the week, so I'm not saying he's a must start, but I do think he's absolutely going to be playable. He'll be an asset. He'll score enough points that you'll be happy to have had him on your team. Of course, you're playing Derrick Henry. Of course, you're playing A.J. Brown. Everything else becomes a question mark here, right? I think you gotta, keep Corey Davis on your bench for now. I think with Jonnu Smith probably being, healthier this week, you might see some of those targets, start to filter that way again. I think, with Jonnu, obviously maybe a little bit banged up. He didn't get any work last week. I think that changes this week. They get him more involved on purpose. So for me, A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, I want in my lineup. Corey Davis, I'd leave out, and I'm still, staying away from Adam Humphries. He's almost a Cole Beasley light. So, again, a little bit lower floor. Probably around the same ceiling for Humphries as you have for Beasley. So I stay away from him. I know it's hard, Jonnu Smith owners. He was so good for a few weeks, and then you've been, let down a little bit. But go ahead and keep him in there. Keep the faith. For Cincinnati, this is tough, right? Because, beginning of the season, you get bigger question marks than you have now about some of the players, and we've gotten some answers on other ones. So we've talked about this the last couple of weeks. It really comes down to, with Cincinnati, how you rank their receivers and which of them you think are playable. So I'd be willing to play Joe Burrow here, but he's outside my top 16 or so. So, while I'd be willing to play him, he would be a not recommend from me for streaming. So I'd prefer to keep him out of there. Gio Bernard is going to be in your lineup, assuming Joe Mixon is out. If Joe Mixon is in, I'm going to stay away from both of them. I just think it'll be too big of a split. They're going to, work both of them in there if Mixon is available. I don't see that being the case, though. I think Mixon will miss one more week, and we don't have any kind of confirmation on that yet Thursday morning, but I do think he's going to miss another week. So Gio's going to be in your lineup for sure. Go ahead and suck that one more week of usage out of him. And on the outside here, so I'm still going to put it Higgins, Boyd, Green, and they all have different levels of usability. I think none of them really rise above a high-end wide receiver 2, but they're all kind of hovering in that low-end wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 2 range. So a little tricky with these guys. You probably don't own any more than one of them, which is good. Green would still be my least likely to play, but I think you can play all three of them. So, and it's a decent matchup. Tennessee's defense hasn't been, kind of what we thought it might be. Let's look here. Yeah, I mean, they're bottom third of the pack in passing yards allowed, and they give up 25.5 points a game. So, again, it's not a bad defense. Just I thought it was going to be a really good defensive unit, and it's just been okay, and that's all right sometimes. All right, so let's keep her rolling here. All right, more interesting storylines here. The Vegas Raiders, Las Vegas, travel to Cleveland to take on the 5-2 Browns, the OBJ-less Browns. That's right. It's sad. It sucks to be OBJ-less, but sometimes life is OBJ-less, right? All right, so let's talk about Vegas here. Hopefully, you're going to get some games on these guys. Derek Carr is absolutely near the top of my streamers for the week, but he's not actually above Baker Mayfield in the same game. So if I had a pick and I had my choice, I would play Baker in this game. I do think while I don't love this week for streaming quarterbacks, hopefully your quarterback has a good matchup. But I would put Baker, right near the top of this list for streamers. I think Cousins might be near the top of that list for me, with Jared Goff as well. So I think you can play all of those guys, and they're right around the same projection for me in points. But let's talk about the Vegas Raiders. So Derek Carr, I think you can play him. He should be in line for a decent week. Hopefully it's not a letdown week for him. Weather doesn't look great there. Might have some rain. We'll see. Josh Jacobs, again, got to have him in your lineup. This should be a get-right game for Jacobs. You're hoping that John Gruden really, really wants to match Kevin Stefanski's, kind of, run the ball down your throat mentality. We know that Jake Gruden's, kind of an old school guy, and I think he's going to want to match that smash mouth style of play. Wow. To Kevin Stefanski. So I'm expecting over 20 carries for Josh Jacobs in this game, and I think he's going to be a top 5 running back on the week. So put that in the bank. Let's go to the outside here. So who are you playing if you got Vegas weapons here? It's a tough one. They're not using Ruggs the way you're kind of hoping that they would. Renfro has usability for sure, especially in PPR leagues. You can absolutely trot him out there, but I wouldn't be, hoping to. So in this game, even though I like Derek Carr, I would probably keep both those guys on my bench. If I had to play one, I would play Ruggs for the upside, but I'd keep them both on my bench. I think this is going to be a Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller kind of game, play action. Maybe get one big play to Ruggs throughout the game on one of those play actions. But again, there's so many usable wide receivers right now that I wouldn't be willing to bet on it. But Darren Waller, another great week for him. I'm going to assume he's in the 10 target range once again. And the Browns. So, let's see how this Browns team looks after a whole week of game planning without OBJ, right? It's not just that they didn't have him for the whole game. He was in the game plan all week. Now you have to make a completely different game plan. So what do we think these Browns are going to look like? Yeah, I like Baker. I don't care. I know it's been brought up all week long. You're probably sick and tired of hearing about it the whole, all right, is OBJ, better, quote unquote better, with or without, is Baker Mayfield better with or without OBJ? Some people are like, oh, that's egregious. How can you say that? That's so dumb. I mean, he's a great talent. You can't be better without him. No, I don't think that's true. I don't think we know if it's true or not, but there is such a thing called fit and chemistry, right? You know that. You can't deny that. Some people work in certain systems where they didn't work in other systems for a variety of reasons. And this is just one of those things. The fit hasn't been there. It's been a season and a half, plus worth of games with these two guys together, or just about a season and a half worth of games, and it's just not there. Their connection isn't there. Say what you want. I really don't care. They're both very talented, and they both will find success, in a National Football League. They both have already had success, obviously, but you know what I mean. I think they're both going to be great without each other. It's like an ex. It's like an ex that you don't hate, but you love. You're like, it's not even like you're just saying it because you're in a movie. You're like, oh, I really genuinely want them to be happy. They're a great person. That should be the relationship between Baker Mayfield and OBJ. At least in our minds, that's what we should be thinking, right? So, sorry, got off on a little tangent there. So who am I playing? I'm playing OBJ. I'm playing Kareem Hunt, obviously. Should be another big week for Kareem Hunt. Not another, but it should be a big week for Kareem Hunt, we're hoping here, right? They're going to go to the well early and often and get him involved. Now, on the outside here, Rashard Higgins. What is the play on Rashard Higgins? If you watched yesterday's episode, you know that Rashard Higgins is number 4 on my list, not only of weekly waiver wire pickups for this week, but my rest of season waiver wire pickups as well. I think he's got a great opportunity here. Am I thinking he's going to be a wide receiver 1? Of course not. But I do think he's a weekly wide receiver 3 that has wide receiver 2 upside every week. We'll see what his target share is like this week and how it looks going forward. But I think for right now, he's the wide receiver you want to have in your lineup. Maybe not Jarvis Landry. Landry's just not getting the work. I don't know if it's just that lingering injury. I don't know. But I think Rashard Higgins is good for 3 or 4 shots down the field this week. And if he connects on 1 or 2 of them, it'll work out for you. And then, Harrison Bryant. I don't think we've gotten word yet that Austin Hooper is out. But listen, he had an appendectomy. Let's just consider Austin Hooper out for 1 more week. And I think, you play Harrison Bryant. It was very obvious that Baker Mayfield not only liked Harrison Bryant, but also when OBJ wasn't on the field, was heavily targeting tight ends. He got them all in the mix, last week, right? It wasn't just Bryant. Njoku caught a touchdown. There were tight end targets to go around there. So I do like that play. And, this is a sneaky game for a game to be entertaining to watch. And a game to be important for the AFC. So, listen, don't sleep on that one. I know it can be very easy to do that. But maybe you should. All right. Where are we at here? That's 4 out of 7? All right. Not bad. You know me, I lose track. We're like 24 minutes in, and we're already halfway there. Boom, baby. All right, am I talking too fast? Have I got that Brooklyn thing going on where I'm just going? No. All right. Let's try to keep it going a little bit more relaxed here. All right, Indianapolis Colts traveling to Detroit, taking on the Lions. Listen, the Lions are 3-3. They are playing for a playoff spot right now, even though they're not very good. The Colts are 4-2. And same thing. I mean, the Colts are really good defensively. They're struggling on offense. But, they're right there in the mix in this AFC. And when you can play defense and you got a smart coach like Frank Reich, you're always going to be in it. So I like this Colts team right now. I wish they had gone a different direction than Philip Rivers. Imagine this Colts team, with Justin Herbert, right? Just saying. All right. So, Indianapolis, who are we playing? I don't know. On the road, I'm not going to trust Philip Rivers. He's not anywhere near my list of streamers for this week. Jonathan Taylor, of course, he's in your lineup. He's going to be a big part of the game plan this week. And you're hoping, if you're a Jonathan Taylor owner, that you're finally going to get that big, 20 carry, 125 yard plus on the ground game with a score. Of course, you need that score. And maybe a couple passes out of the backfield. And I do think this will be that game for Jonathan Taylor. I have Jonathan Taylor as a top 10 running back on the week. All right, and on the outside here, I'm scared to play anybody on the outside for Indianapolis. Quite frankly, T.Y. Hilton is outside of my wide receiver 3 or flex rankings, as is Zach Pascal, as are all of them. Trey Burton, yeah, of course, he's attractive as a sneaky play for tight end. They're trying to get him involved, and they're doing different things with him. But Jack Doyle is healthy. Not sure about Mo Alley Cox. There's a chance that he might be playing here. Let's pull up some injury reports here and see maybe there's something that we missed. But what do we got for Indy here? All right, Mo Alley Cox did not practice. So if you told me you were playing Trey Burton just on a hunch because you just really felt like he was going to score this week, I couldn't argue against that. But he's well outside my top 12. He's probably more like tight at 16, 18 in my rankings. So buyer beware, as they say. And Detroit, man, Detroit Lions, 3-3. You just get the feeling if this team was, I don't know, a little bit better coached. I don't want to be a dick, but I really just I hate what's going on in the backfield here. Matt Stafford is probably not a play for you. I mean, when we look at the the numbers right now, right? Defense, teams giving up the most and least yards per game. Indianapolis giving up the second least passing yards per game, under 200 yards a game. They're giving up under 20 points per game, right? That's fourth in the league. So, teams have not been scoring on Indianapolis, and I'm not going to bet on Detroit to put up big numbers in this week. So, I'll probably stay away from Stafford. DeAndre Swift, again, I'm hoping. This is like the third week in a row, though, that I'm saying, hey, I feel like they're going to start getting him more involved. He's making some big plays. And then I turn around, and it's always, Adrian Peterson on the fucking field. I don't know, man. In this game, I would play DeAndre Swift. We're short so many running backs. There's so many injuries that, while he's not in my top 24, I'd probably take a flyer on him. So, yeah, listen, if I'm wrong, let me have it. But I'm going to tell you to put DeAndre Swift in your lineup this week. Also, Kenny Golladay. Yep, going to have Kenny Golladay in my lineup. I understand, like I said, least passing yards, yada, yada, yada. But with the deep play threat of Kenny Golladay, just how good he is, it's hard to just not have him in your lineup because that 60-yard touchdown is always on the table with Kenny G. And then, other than that, I'm staying away from it. I'm staying away from Hawkinson. He seems to be becoming a much more popular play for a lot of people. I hear a lot more people talking about TJ Hawkinson right now, but I don't love him. So I'm not going to have him in my lineup. I'm going to skip him this week and play one of the other guys, take a flyer on an Irv Smith. This week I think you can play Gerald Everett. I'd play over TJ Hawkinson. Just to give you something, Harrison Bryant, I'd play over TJ Hawkinson. So just to throw some guys at you there that I think you could play over TJ Hawkinson if you're dead set on it. So, over under 50, that game's all right. I like it. Okay, so here, I think the over under on this one is a little bit low. One of my most, I'm really looking forward to this game for a few different reasons now. Minnesota Vikings traveling to Green Bay, taking on the Packers. 5-1 Packers, 1-5 Vikings. So I know you're like, why are you looking forward to this game? I kind of want to see Green Bay put a fucking shellacking on Minnesota, like 49 to 21. Because Green Bay's going to give up garbage time points, and Cousins will start flinging the ball around all over the place late. I want Green Bay to score so many points this week. I really don't know why. I don't have that many shares of Packers. I just want it to happen. I just really do. I don't know. It's just a feeling, man. You just get these feelings sometimes, right? Let's talk about Minnesota here. Word is that Dalvin Cook will probably be on the field, and against what I typically do, which is not play a guy coming back from injury that's still, kind of questionable. I think after their bye week, I'm more willing to play him, this week. And if he's on my bench, I'd probably have him in my lineup this week. As of right now, Thursday morning, I'd probably have him in my lineup. Now, it's a Sunday game. A lot can happen between Thursday morning and Sunday afternoon, but keep an eye on it. Right now, I'd have Dalvin Cook in, and that means I would not be playing Alexander Madison. So, there you go. If for some reason there's a setback and they say Cook is doubtful, Cook is out, I would play Alexander Madison, but if Cook is giving it a go, then I'm going to sit Alexander Madison. There you go. On the outside, I'm playing Thielen and I'm playing Justin Jefferson, of course. Can't deny the kid's talent anymore, his place in the offense. I talked about it preseason. I've talked about it a bunch, in the last few weeks. But, there was no reason why he couldn't come in and step right into 75 plus targets at least, if not more. It looks like it might be more at this point. And he's killing it because, right, Thielen's still getting a good amount of attention. And he passes the eye test, man. The talent is there. All right, and I just mentioned Irv Smith. I think you can play him this week. I feel like this is, Minnesota right now, I feel like is absolutely about to blow up this team after this year, right? I don't think Cousins will be there. I don't think Thielen will be there. I think it'll be Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Irv Smith as the skill players that are left to build around going into 2021. So I really think they're going to start to want to see what exactly they have in Irv Smith and just how good he can be. And I think that might start this week against the Packers here. So I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit and say that Irv Smith is going to be in my top 12 tight ends. That's right, a tight end 1 on the week. So listen, I know that is a little bit out there. Hard to trust it. I get it. But that's my take, man. I'm looking at Irv Smith, looking at turning a corner this week, making a big play or two, and getting into the end zone probably. I'm putting a higher percentage on it than not. Now, in Green Bay, let's talk about all these supposed points that I expect to happen. Aaron Rodgers, you're playing. Minnesota has not been really good. They just got rid of Yannick Ngakoue, who they just got this year. They're obviously kind of moving on, I think, from this season and this nucleus of team. So I don't think the Vikings are going to be. Let's see, they're third to last in points allowed, 32 points allowed a game, 290 passing yards, 127 rushing yards. So they can be had for points. Now, I don't think Aaron Jones is going to play in this game. Let's talk about all those scenarios just like we just talked about with Dalvin Cook. If they say Aaron Jones is playing, then yeah, I'm playing Aaron Jones and I'm sitting Jamal Williams. And if they say Aaron Jones is out, then I am playing Jamal Williams. That's it. It's kind of the same for both of these teams. Both those running backs, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, are just too high level that they say they're playing to keep them on your bench. So both those dudes, if they say they're gonna go and they seem more than just doubtful, like they seem like they're pretty good to go, have both those guys in their lineup. But absolutely play their backups if they're out. Now Devontae Adams, of course you're playing Devontae Adams, and you just can't trust anybody else on the outside for the Packers here. Just seen too many weeks where we just don't know who's going to get the ball, right? We know Devontae Adams is going to get more than his share, and then we don't know what's going to happen after that. If you had bet on MVS last week, you got fucked up by that. That didn't work out, and I'm not going to bet on anybody else on the outside for Green Bay this week. That includes, tight ends. That includes everybody. So I'm not playing Robert Tonyan, right? I'm not playing MVS, Marcus Valdez-Scantling. I'm not playing any of these other guys, for Green Bay. So then you say, well, Jim, you're saying Green Bay's going to score all these points. Where are they going to come from? Oh, they're just going to be spread around. You'll probably have 2 to a running back. You'll probably have, 2 to Devontae Adams, and then 1 each to 2 or 3 other guys. That's how I'm seeing it. Lots of points. Over, under 51.5. Again, I think it could have been 56. I think they're just saying that Minnesota's not going to be scoring points. But I think that Green Bay's going to score 35 points in this game, at least. And, Minnesota's probably good for 21. That's how I see it. All right. Let's get into our last game for this episode here. We'll cut it off and we'll get to the other 7 tomorrow with our top starts of the week tomorrow. New little segment here. Try not to copy too many of the other shows, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a great formula. This is what you guys want to know. Starts and sits, starts of the week, yada, yada. And eventually I'll have the website up and you'll get full weekly rankings. May not happen this season. We're gonna put that as a goal for next season to have full weekly rankings up on our website. But, baby steps, right? Just like Bob and What About Bob? Baby steps out the door, baby steps to the bus, baby steps to the website. Love that movie. Love Bill Murray. All right. Last game. Holy shit. Yeah, I heard them joking about this line, but the New York Jets 0-7, traveling to Kansas City, playing the Chiefs. These are weird games to kind of guess for fantasy, right? Because you're thinking with KC, if they're up big, what are they going to do in the second half? Are they even going to play Mahomes? Will it be Chad Henne, right? It could be. Mahomes owners, watch out, man. If they're up 35-0 at the half, maybe you only got 2 or 3 touchdowns because there was a defensive touchdown. You know, I'm just saying, it could happen, but you're not going to bet on that. You're going to play your Chiefs, right? So, are you playing any Jets? I think you are, and I think you're playing LaMichael Pt1, right? I mean, that's the guy. He was on the field more than Gore last week, finally. So we finally turned that corner. They're going to be behind. So I'm hoping for a decent chunk of passing down work for LaMichael Pt1 in this game. I would love to see him have 6+ targets on the game. And I think that's going to carry him to fantasy relevance this week. With how many running backs are out, how many are injured, all the bye weeks. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say LaMichael Pt1 should be considered a top 36 running back for the week. And frankly, he's going to be closer to, 25, 26 for me. I think he was 29th last I looked at my rankings. And I think he's climbing up a little bit for me. I see a pathway to him having a good amount of work in this game early and then a lot of passing down work as the game progresses. It won't be Frank Gore. If they're down in the second half, it's going to be LaMichael Pt1 on the field for the majority of the time. So he's the only Jet I want to play. But yes, I'm not just willing to play LaMichael Pt1. I want to play LaMichael Pt1. Things you never thought you'd say. All of them in 2020. Add that to the fucking list. And then KC, I mean, listen, you're going to play your Chiefs. Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Hill, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, your big 4 you're playing. Let's get to the other question marks here, starting with Le'Veon Bell. And yeah, I think this week you can flex Le'Veon Bell because of the second half. I'm not going to just write off the Jets. I don't want to just say they're going to be down 4 touchdowns at the half, but they definitely very well might be, right? I mean, the over-under here is, 49, and Kansas City's giving 19.5. 19.5. So they're not expecting the Jets to score a lot of points, obviously. Not expecting them to have success moving the ball, obviously. So I think Kansas City's going to be up big, and I think Le'Veon Bell's going to get a decent amount of second half work, and I do think there's going to be enough of that second half work to be fantasy viable this week. So I know. I didn't think I'd be recommending Le'Veon Bell this week, but I absolutely am. And I can't recommend any of the other wide receivers. I just can't do it right now. We know that every week, this is the 3rd week in a row, right? Nicole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Jeremy Pringle. We just don't know, so I'm only going to stick with the tried and true guys on Kansas City, expecting them to be up big and running the ball a lot in the second half. That's why I like to add Le'Veon Bell, but going to go ahead and sit on the other receivers here. Travis Kelce, let's hope he has a beastly first half. Sometimes in these blowout games, he kind of disappears. He might not play him as much in the second half. And Kelce owners like me, need a big game. You can't have one of your top guys. He's your second round pick sitting out the second half of games. So just can't have that happening. All right, well, that's going to leave the other 7 games for tomorrow, right? Let's see if I can count. 1, 2. Oh, no, see, I can't count. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, all right. Yep, that's 7 and 7. So, 7 and 7. That shit sounds good. I know. I'm sounding like a 70-year-old man. Nobody drinks 7 and 7. I haven't had a 7 up in forever. I mean, technically 7 and 7. So, again, I digress. Sorry about that. But, listen, everybody. Thursday night football tonight. Falcons, Panthers. Get you guys out there. Expect the points to be scored. Have a great game. Have a great week. I'm going to be here tomorrow helping you out with the second half. So, we'll get you all primed up for the weekend. Get you ready to get that big W. Make that push towards the playoffs. Have a great one, everybody. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.